This week on Hometown Ghost Stories, the ancient history of Shimonoseki, Japan is rich with legend and lore. A brutal naval battle begun the shogun era, which sparked nearly 700 years of military dictatorship. The people of Japan were governed by samurai warriors, and legend has it, the spirits of some of those samurai still haunt the shores of Shimonoseki. This is Hometown Ghost Stories, Shimonoseki, Japan.
Hometown Ghost Stories contains serious and often distressing events and is not intended for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shimonoseki, Japan, 1200 AD. The flames of the bonfire licked the night sky, illuminating the inky blackness to a deep shade of purple. 11-year-old Mitsuko watched curiously as the villagers dumped buckets of live crabs onto the sand from boats that were tied to the docks just a few meters away. There were lots of different kinds: blue crabs, spider crabs, mitten crabs, hikigani crabs, snow crabs, takanawi crabs, and so on. Mitsuko was a member of the Minamoto clan, and for the last few years, she watched and paid close attention to the crab harvests. This year, she was allowed to help out, under the supervision of her grandmother, of course. She knew the rules. Small ones get tossed back, big ones go in the crates, and most importantly, beware of the pinchers. Mitsuko was watching her grandmother sort through the pile of crabs that almost appeared to be breathing as crabs slowly crawled over each other when the old woman shot her a look that suggested she should get back to work. She quickly plucked a crab from the pile and grabbed the twine to bind its claws. It was a small crab, and it looked at her with both of its crab arms raised in the air. She giggled and flipped it around. She was beginning to observe the markings on the shell when her grandmother grabbed her arm, causing Mitsuko to jump. Her grandmother pointed to the crab's shell and sternly told her to throw this crab back in the water immediately. "It has the markings of the Haika," she said. Mitsuko looked back down at the crab's shell. The markings looked like the face of a samurai. She knew the story of the Haika who were defeated by her clan 15 years ago. They were cast into the sea and their bodies were consumed not only by the waves, but also by the hikigani crabs that inhabited the Shimonoseki waters. Now, the faces of the fallen samurai soldiers appeared on the shells of some of the crabs, and those crabs were not to be eaten. Mitsuko carried the crab away from the fire, across the sand, and over to the water. The crab had since lowered its claws and seemed to glare at her from the angry-looking face on the shell. She stood with her toes in the wet sand as the crest of a wave covered her feet up to her ankles and then retreated back, causing her feet to sink in. She said goodbye to the crab and tossed it back into the water. It plopped in and disappeared for a moment before floating back to the surface, upside down. That's not good, Mitsuko thought. Another wave flipped the crab's dead carcass over and pushed it back towards Mitsuko. The angry face in its shell seemed to glare accusingly at her. She picked it back up and threw it as hard as she could back into the ocean and spun around, running past the fire and all the way back home. That night, Mitsuko couldn't sleep. She knew she disappointed her grandmother and blew her chance to prove that she was ready to help out in the village. She just couldn't get the events of the night off her mind, but that wasn't the reason for her inability to sleep. There was a shadow that kept moving past her window. It was a full moon, so light poured into the bedroom, making it obvious when whatever was lurking outside of her window would walk past. At last, Mitsuko had had enough and got out of bed. She walked over to the window and drew the curtains, blocking out the moonlight. The room was completely dark now. Mitsuko stood for a moment while her eyes adjusted, and as she waited, she felt the presence of someone in the room with her. Something was standing right in front of her. She froze, gripped with fear, and she took a step back. As her eyes adjusted, she could just barely make out the figure of a hulking samurai soldier standing in her room. Suddenly, the curtains blew open, and the moonlight illuminated the figure of the samurai who stood there with a pale, bloated face, seaweed hanging from his helmet. He opened his mouth, but just gurgled rancid water that spilled all over the floor to the bedroom. Mitsuko screamed and ran out of her room and right into her concerned grandmother, who grabbed her and asked her what was wrong. Mitsuko just pointed back to her room, but there was nothing there. No samurai, no water, no seaweed, nothing. I'm Dave Wilkins, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Shimonoseki, Japan. Shimonoseki is a historic port city located at the southwestern tip of Honshu, Japan, in the Yamaguchi Prefecture. It lies at the narrow Kanmon Strait, which separates Honshu from Kyushu, and serves as a strategic point connecting these two main islands. The city has a population of approximately 250,000 and is known for its rich history, vibrant seafood culture, and scenic coastal views. The city remains a vital port and is famous for its fishing industry, especially its association with the fugu pufferfish, a delicacy often prepared in the local Karato market. The port also serves as a gateway to Busan, South Korea, via ferry services. Shimonoseki's historical significance, mixed with its maritime heritage and samurai-era legacy, lead many to believe that the city is haunted in a unique way. The relevant history dates back to the year 1185 AD with the Battle of Dan-no-Yura. Dan-no-Yura is the famed setting of the final battle of the Genpei War that took place on the Straits of Shimonoseki between the islands of Honshu and Kyushu. The battle was fought between two great warrior clans, the Taira and the Minamoto. This battle was rare in Japanese history in that it was primarily a naval battle. And like many great battles, particularly in this period, it became fuel for a body of tradition and cultural folklore that stretches over the centuries to present day. The Taira clan was ruled by a child emperor named Entoku, who was only 6 years old, but it was likely his grandmother, Taira no Tokiko, calling the shots. The battle went on between the two clans, but eventually the tide began changing, allowing the Minamoto ships to outflank the Taira ships. When the top commanders of the Taira clan realized they were doomed, they began jumping overboard. The boy emperor's second-in-command grabbed him and jumped overboard with him, followed by his grandmother. They, along with their samurai warriors, known as the Haika, all drowned in the waters of the Shimonoseki Strait. Several of the great legends that arose from this battle involve priceless artifacts with rumored spiritual power. Traditionally, the Emperor of Japan held 3 objects: a sacred sword, a sacred bronze mirror, and a jewel made of jade. When Taira no Tokiko jumped into the water off Shimonoseki with her grandson at the climax of the battle, it was said these 3 totems vanished into the waters with them. Supposedly, all were recovered, and the sword is allegedly sealed in a clay box to this day, but nobody alive is allowed to open the box, and nobody has since it was refurbished by Shinto monks sometime prior to 1867. Whether the sword in the box is the original or a copy of a copy remains a mystery, but the most fascinating mystery tied to the Battle of Dan-no-Yura is the legend of the ghosts of the Haika samurai. After the defeat, rather than surrender, the Haika samurai leapt into the water where their bodies likely became crab food. Locals believe that the ghosts of these fallen samurai were reincarnated into the Haikagani crabs who ate their remains, and their angry faces now appear on the crabs' shells. The Battle of Dan-no-Yura saw the death of thousands, and their spirits are said to haunt the waters and even the coastline of Shimonoseki. People have reported hearing the sound of clashing swords and cries at night, as well as seeing the apparitions of dead samurai walking aimlessly across the sand before disappearing into the night. Another haunting, and possibly the most legendary, is that of the Funayuri. The Funayuri are ghosts of people who died at sea, the Haika in this particular case. The legend is that a ghost would approach a boat and demand a bucket from the sailors. The ghost would then use the bucket to bail water into the boat to sink it. It later became custom for sailors to prepare by bringing along a bucket without a bottom so as to not have their boat sunk by the vengeful spirits of the slaughtered samurai clan. Their appearance as depicted in legends varies widely depending on the area. There are stories that speak of ghosts that appear above water, of boats that are themselves ghosts or ghost ships, of ghosts that appear on human-occupied ships, or any combination of the above. They are described as appearing like umibozu, or as an atmospheric ghost light. There are many legends of the funayuri at sea, but they have also been described as appearing in rivers, lakes, and swamps of inland areas. In addition to sinking ships, it was also believed that they are responsible for making compasses malfunction. There was even one instance of a fishing boat traveling through the Kanmon Strait encountering the funayuri. The ship was observed spinning in the middle of the strait for days before somebody went out to investigate it. When they boarded the ship, they found that the entire crew had hanged themselves. It's believed that the ghosts of the drowned men are vengeful and wish to see others suffer the same fate as they did. Years after the battle, a shrine was built and dedicated to Antoku, the child emperor who died that day. The Amaka Shrine, as it's known, is situated on the waterfront of the Kanmon Strait between the center of Shimonoseki and the tourist restaurants of the Karato Marketplace. The bright red main gate makes it a very visible sight. The grounds contain 7 mounds, which represent the Haika warriors also lost in the Battle of Dan no Yura. The shrine itself is said to be haunted, with visitors reporting strange shadow figures, sounds of disembodied whispers, and inexplicable feelings of angst and unease, particularly near the Emperor's memorial. Inside the shrine, in the Hoichi Hall, is the statue of Hoichi the Earless, one of the characters in a traditional ghost story. Centuries ago, there was a Buddhist monk named Hoichi Hoshi who lived at the temple of Amida in Shimonoseki. Hoichi enjoyed playing the biwa, which is a musical instrument much like a lute but cut in half. He was blind, but that didn't hinder his ability to play his instrument. He was known to be the most talented musician in the region. One summer night, the temple abbot had gone out for the evening to attend a funeral, leaving Hoichi by himself in the temple. Hoichi didn't mind. He just strummed away on his biwa as the night went on. But as the hours ticked by and the abbot still hadn't returned, Hoichi became concerned. A feeling of dread crept over him as the sound of footsteps that were too heavy to be the abbot echoed through the halls. Suddenly, a voice boomed out calling Hoichi's name. Frightened, Hoichi turned to face the direction of the voice. The intruder introduced himself as a samurai who lived nearby and was sent to his lord to fetch Hoichi to play the biwa for his clan. This seemed odd to Hoichi since it was the middle of the night, but he allowed the samurai to lead him by the hand to the samurai clan's hall. He couldn't be sure of how far they walked, but eventually he heard the sound of a large gate opening, and he was led into a room filled with samurai and women. The voice of an older woman greeted Hoichi and requested that he play his most famous song of the Battle of Dan no Yura. Hoichi obliged them, and he played the song with a passion like never before. When he finished, he could hear that some of the people were moved to tears. The woman thanked him and requested that Hoichi return every night to play the song. Hoichi reluctantly agreed and stood up when the woman's voice barked at him to never tell anyone that their lord is here. For the next several nights, the samurai showed up to the temple and led Hoichi by the hand to play for the clan. Eventually, the abbot noticed Hoichi's absence every night and grew curious. One night, the abbot secretly followed Hoichi and was horrified at what he saw. He ran all the way back to the temple. When Hoichi returned, the abbot confronted him and demanded he tell him where he had been. Hoichi broke and explained that he had been playing the biwa every night for a nearby samurai clan. The abbot then explained that he had in fact followed him and watched him play. "You weren't playing for anyone," he explained. "You were sitting by yourself in the temple graveyard, playing for the graves of the dead Haika samurai." Both men knew the ghosts of the Haika were dangerous and would tear Hoichi to pieces for breaking their deal, so the abbot instructed Hoichi to disrobe and then proceeded to cover every inch of his body with an ancient incantation for protection. So long as the ink remained on his skin, the ghosts wouldn't be able to see him. Sure enough, the samurai showed up that same evening. The incantation worked for the most part, but the abbot didn't write on Hoichi's ears. The samurai saw his ears and tore them from his head. From then on, he was known as Hoichi the Earless. Today, Shimonoseki harmoniously blends its modern identity with deep respect for its historical and mythical past, making it a fascinating destination for history buffs and those intrigued by the supernatural. Stick around and join myself, Jesse, and Rob as we dig into some of the history and legends of Shimonoseki, Japan.
What is going on, folks? Welcome into Hometown Ghost Stories, episode number 144, The Ghosts of the Drowned Samurai, Shimonoseki, Japan, or as some say, Shimonoseki.
I don't think so.
Some, maybe.
Minnesotans.
I'm Jesse Wilkins. I'm joined by Rob Coakley. Hello, Rob.
Great job in that opening, Dave. It was definitely an airfill.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to learn Japanese, basically.
You were also joined by Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
That was a solid job. We've done a lot of covering Japan. We have. It's just so full of ghost stories and crazy legends and really interesting history.
Yeah.
Just thousands of years of battles, and you have every reason for every inch of that country to be extremely haunted, which seems to be the case, because every time we cover one, I was like, or one island or one prefecture or whatever, I'm like, okay, this is the most haunted spot. No, this is the most haunted spot. It just seems to be an endless cycle, but so much stuff.
Some of the coolest lore in like paranormal history as well. Just the way that they identify and classify their types of hauntings as well. So
Yeah.
Japan overall has always been a number one for me, but in terms of just going somewhere to see and fingers crossed, investigate someday, I really, really want to get to Japan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be awesome. The thing I like about Japanese ghost stories is they're more than just stories. Some of them are like parables also, and they usually have an underlying meaning or a purpose for being told. And you had a little bit of that in this episode. I actually covered the story of Hoichi the Earless before, Robin, when you covered Japan. And I just gave like the cliff notes of the story, but I went into it more.
Oh,
in depth here.
I don't listen to the show.
He doesn't even listen when we're talking, apparently. But people that do listen, big shout out to Brent from the Paranormal Portal, gifted 5 Hometown Ghost Stories memberships on YouTube, and Brenda C came in with a massive 50 bomb of donations. So make sure you guys say thank you if you got gifted a sub there. Also, happy resub day to Papa Squatch and Demon King. We appreciate you guys. And that is it for formalities. We're into episode 144. We're approaching episode 150. We won't have a party because we're tired. So we will gladly say, hey, that's
200.
Yeah.
200. We will
200 perhaps. Yeah.
Before we dive into this, some of the stuff that we talk about at the end of the show, I just want to bring up. We are going to be doing t-shirt giveaways for once we hit certain milestones on reviews for Spotify and iTunes. I'm going to bump up the iTunes one. Once we hit 650, I'll do a t-shirt giveaway on that. And I've laid out the way to enter that. You can enter it through Discord, or if you're not in our Discord, you should join our Discord. But if you're not, you can screenshot it and send us an email and just title that email 5-star review giveaway. And it's hometownghoststories@gmail.com. Don't forget to sign up for Patreon. We just did our exclusive November content, which was also Japan, correct, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Really crazy ghost story for that one. So make sure you sign up for that, and you can get early access to our side content as well.
You can. It's a lot of fun. Did we decide on an RIP of the week?
Yes, I was waiting for a chance to jump in. This week's RIP is Mother McTibbles. So thank you for being a VIP for so long.
Yes, also known as Mother McTibbles and her herd of ice-cold hand ankle-grabbing ghost children.
Yes.
So happy RIP to you, Mother McTibbles. Been a legendary VIP member for quite some time. If you want an episode dedicated to you, consider joining the VIP list. We got a couple new ones. Actually today, I believe.
Yeah.
Who was it? West Virginia coal miner bumped up to the VIP status, and I believe we got another one. So welcome to the VIPs, my friend. Welcome to the VIPs. Absolutely.
Right. Both those new VIPs updated or joined after I did the visual, so you won't see your name in it, but you'll hear your name later when we do those. But yeah, so this episode is interesting, and it was actually suggested to me by Captain McSlugs, our beloved brother, who sent me that. He's like, you got to cover this story. There's ghost crabs in Japan. I was like, all right, I want to learn about the ghost crabs in Japan. So it was actually from one of Carl Sagan's books, and he was talking about evolution, and he just used this example of this Hikigani crab as it was believed to be a ghost story, and he based it off a 1952 Julian Huxley theory of artificial selection, which can be a part of evolution. Like, so you have natural selection, which things kind of work themselves out naturally and things evolve that way. But there's also artificial selection. So the theory is, and it was expounded by Carl Sagan in his book Cosmos, which is a pretty interesting read. But the theory is that the samurai or the villagers, when they would harvest these crabs, they would believe that the ghosts of the samurai soldiers that drowned from that battle manifested in these crabs, and that's why you saw the face of the crab on the shells. So what they were doing is, out of superstition and out of respect for the ghosts that they believe haunted these crabs, they would toss the ones with faces back into the water, and they'd eat the ones without faces. So they were basically altering this species of crab by selecting the ones that don't have faces and just allowing the other ones to breed, which is a pretty cool theory.
That is pretty cool. I think the other theory, and the more skeptical theory, is that the ones with faces are typically too small to eat.
Yes,
is the reason why they would toss them back, right?
Exactly. So lame scientists are always trying to find a way to debunk our awesome paranormal theories. So I always like to try and debunk the debunkers.
So did you eat some?
No.
Did you eat the debunkers?
I didn't eat the debunkers, but that's
next.
That's extreme. But yeah, if it comes down to it, it comes down to it. So there's three problems that I kind of worked into a little syllogism here. So problem one is actually what you just brought up, Jesse, is that the Hikigani crabs have a maximum length of 1.2 inches and are too small to be eaten. So it's unlikely that they were ever caught for food in this place. Problem number two is that analysis of the shells also show that the face-like patterns are simply just the result of connection points for the muscle and ligament tissue. And problem number three is the Hikigani crabs are not the only crabs with human-looking faces on the shell. There are actually a variety of crabs from the Dorippidae that all appear to have human faces on their backs, which leads to the logical conclusion that they are, in fact, ghost crabs.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other explanations at this point.
There's not. There's a word for the human tendency to just see faces and things. So
we bring it up every episode and we never know that word. Someone in chat will know it. They'll tell us and be like, yes, that's the word.
Oh,
but when you look at these crabs, and for audio listeners who are listening, I highly recommend coming and watching the video or Googling a picture of these things, because they really look like samurais. It's absolutely insane. What's the name of the crabs? It's the
Hikigani. Heikegani. Yeah, and it is. It's really, really cool. But yeah, I believe that they were 100% the ghosts of the samurai soldiers, and we can debunk all that Carl Sagan and all that evolutionary science. Debunked here in hometown ghost stories.
That's not all that fun. $1.99 in chat from Mother McTibbles. Thank you so much. Here's a quick look at one of these crabs here, so you can kind of see the face up here. It really does. It looks like it looks like a samurai face. It really does. Yeah. So eyes up here, nose right there, mouth right there. I don't know what just happened, but
some cheeks to pinch.
Yep.
To pinch. Yeah.
To pinch.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like how we all got that joke at a different period in time. There it is. Barbara Moore has the word for us. The word is pareidolia. Is when you recognize faces in like clouds and like in pavement or whatever, you recognize facial patterns.
Which is the case that you get with a lot of window ghosts, where people they think they see a ghost in a window.
But don't spoil next week's episode.
I won't. I have no idea what we're covering.
Yeah, we don't. You haven't told us what it is yet. So.
It's a ghost in a window. Just drop it.
All right.
Don't drop the window. Bad luck. I think it's a mirror. Close enough.
Breaking a mirror is bad luck. Oh my god, we're gonna have to go into superstitions.
Well, dropping a window is just a bad idea because it's probably gonna break anyways.
Right. I was implying that by dropping the window, you'd then be breaking it.
I figured.
Anyways, so that's the ghost crabs. The other creepy ghost that haunts this area, and it is actually technically considered a haunted battlefield because it's the waters of the Kanmon Strait where this battle was fought. So technically it's a haunted battlefield, even though it's haunted waters. But it's haunted by a class of ghosts called the Funayuri. And this translates directly to ship ghost. And they're classified as yokai, which means a suspicious spirit, which I find kind of fun. And these are the ghosts of people who have died at sea, and then they transform into vengeful spirits, and they become a particular type of ghost called a Funayuri. And they are really scary. And they're scary because of how vengeful they are. And they're not necessarily revengeful. They're not out just trying to correct a wrong that happened to them during their life. They're actually just very spiteful ghosts that are trying to cause people to suffer the same fate that they caused. So
how do I become one of these ghosts? This sounds right up my alley for my afterlife.
It does. You'd definitely be a suspicious ghost. Yokai Rob. But there's several different variations of these ghosts, and they're all ridiculous. They do ridiculous things. The one that I mentioned in the opening videos was where they'd cling to the side of the boat, and then they'd yell at the sailors to hand them a bucket. Just, hey, give me a bucket. And you hand the ghost a bucket, and then they use the bucket to bail water into your ship to try and sink you.
This does sound like me. Other than being in the ocean, that does not sound like me.
Yeah, true. But I mean, you don't get to choose where you haunt, I don't think. So if you end up there, you're going to be extra vengeful and spiteful.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone's going down. I'm bailing water onto every ship. I've practiced in Sea of Thieves enough.
It's going to be you in the ocean, and then that guy that works at the museum from last week's episode haunting that museum that he said will never be haunted.
Yeah.
I think this is probably how it goes. I like this theory.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's another variation of that ghost where they ask for a bucket, and if you don't give them a bucket, they pull out these little ladle things, and they'll use those to fill your boat to sink it.
How long would that take?
Please give me the bucket. I don't want to fill the boat with a ladle. Come on.
That's actually hilarious because how long is that ghost going to do that for? Where you're like, all right, I'm just going to leave.
Ghost exists outside of the realm of time.
It doesn't mean the boat is going to fill up faster. How pissed off would you be though if you're like, oh, he's gonna ladle, I don't have to worry about this at all. In fact, I'm going to bed, and then it's like 5 minutes later. God, he was efficient.
It is just preposterous behavior from these Funayuri ghosts, but there are also Funayuri ghost ships, and they attack in different ways. And sometimes they charge headlong towards the other ship, causing it to steer away so sharply that it capsizes. Other times they pull alongside the other ship, and the ghostly crew tries to drag it down under the water, which is both of those situations are terrifying. And then the third way that they'll manifest is they occasionally strike not as a large crew of man-sized ghosts, but they strike as one very large ghost who rises out of the water to capsize the ship.
Like a Power Ranger situation.
Kind of, yeah. That is kind of. I mean, not a robot, but more like a ghost.
Ghost-Azord.
Yeah, and that's the Umibozu that I referenced without explanation earlier in the episode. There's just these massive ghosts that rise up out of the water, which is terrifying.
That's wild.
All of these situations are terrifying. But there was that other one that I alluded to in the opening video too. That was a terrifying story of people on land were observing this boat for several days, just going in circles in the middle of the strait until finally they just were like, all right, we got to investigate this. And they sent a
turns out he was just trying to get away from the ladle ghost.
Yeah. No, it was spinning because the entire crew had hanged themselves.
Oh, that's not as fun of a story.
It's a less fun of a story, but it's terrifying to think about. And it's believed that they were basically attacked by the Funayuri ghosts, and the ghosts drove them insane.
Do you think while they were going in the circle, they were spitting off the ship like one of those carnival rides?
I don't think so. I don't know if it'll be spinning. I guess it depends on how fast it was spinning.
But yeah, water ghosts are particularly scary. And these ones, they're so vengeful and so spiteful. There's really no conflating them with any sort of a friendly type of haunting. Although some of the things,
if you go back to the Nagasaki episode, we had evidence, we covered some evidence that was captured inside the water, like underwater EVPs, which is something I would have never thought to even try to do.
Yeah, right.
You have to go in the water for that. But next investigation, we'll send Robin to the ocean.
Well, ocean ghosts are even more terrifying if you're on a ship because you have nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's an isolation thing. So like you are just stuck on the ocean. Like we have that false sense of security. Like even if you're in a building that's got nothing within 50 miles, you're like, okay, I can leave the building and run in the woods or something. But I mean, when you're on the ocean, you're like, what am I going to do? Swim?
Yeah, that sense of security of running in the woods from a ghost
versus swimming. Swimming.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's why I'd rather fight a lion than a shark.
Yep.
At least I can feel like I know I'm not going to run away from it, but but there's that little sense of hope that I'm going to get away.
I'm not saying I would beat a shark, but at least a shark doesn't actually like eating humans. Lions, I think they like eating humans more than sharks.
I don't think sharks have any reservations against eating humans.
Oh, I've seen
not another human, Mom.
No, sharks hate humans. Even when they do accidentally mistake a human for a seal, they like spit it out because they're disgusted by the meat. That's why there isn't that many shark attacks.
Well, no, there aren't as many shark attacks because people aren't in the ocean with sharks as frequently as they are on land.
Comparing it to lions, I'm just saying that sharks. I've seen this on Shark Week a million times. That Shark Weeks, sharks, they don't like the taste of humans. It's a thing.
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that, and it's comforting to know. But they'll still chomp you in half.
Right. Of course, I know that. But you have. That's why you have so many of these psychopaths on Shark Week just openly swimming with sharks. Mm-hmm. Because normally they won't eat you unless they mistake you for a seal. That's why they attack surfers a lot, because they mistake surfers with their feet, doing the splishy splash in the water. They mistake that for a seal because a human being on top of a surfboard looks like a shark. I mean, a seal. We can run. Yeah, we don't have to do shark talk.
Shark talk is always fun.
We're gonna get emails because.
Anyways, I would kick the shit out of a lion. That's pretty much what I'm saying. It would be absolutely easy. I actually do it all the time. Well, I practice on small cats, but either way.
I thought
the problem with a lion is you're probably fighting the whole pack, right?
I think the problem with fighting a lion is you're fighting a lion, and that's a problem.
No, but there's really no situation where you'd be fighting a lion. They hunt in packs.
You never watched Gladiator?
That's right.
They put you in the Coliseum with a lion.
Yeah.
All right, put me in the Coliseum with a shark, and I win that fight.
Maybe. If you have to kill, I mean, I guess you could just wait it out, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just going to stand back and I'm going to sit down and drink a beer and watch the shark die. I'm not going to enjoy it, but I'm still going to tell people that I beat a shark in a fight to death.
A single combat situation of attrition.
Yeah, I'll throw a rocket at every once in a while,
Yeah. What the hell are we talking about? Ghosts or something? Yeah, I think if you're running from a ghost in the ocean, you run with the boat. You take the boat and you sail away from it, because these aren't necessarily situations where they're haunting your ship. They're kind of attacking your ship from the ocean.
Yeah, with ladles.
Very silly haunting. But those are the Funayuri ghosts. I think they are particularly sinister sounding creatures, and I prefer not to encounter one.
I definitely don't want to encounter the tall one.
That's scary.
Just a 15 or 20 foot ghost.
I will say that, like, even if these stories are just legend and they're made up, they're incredibly creative and awesome, right? Mm-hmm. Like the giant ghost rising from the water. Like, someone had to see something at some point to come up with that. That's a bold claim. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and these stories are so old, right? Like, and that just shows you different cultures that weren't talking to each other and how many ghost stories all these individual cultures have, and a lot of them sort of sounding the same as other cultures as well. That's why you just start hearing that stuff, and you're like, "There's got to be something."
Yeah, it's definitely, it's like the theory of dragons. That's
Yes,
popular in the news again.
So many different cultures depicted it all around the world where they weren't communicating with each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This sounds like a lot of these cases might have been, however,
giraffes too.
Giraffes. Yep. Yeah. Giraffes shouldn't be real.
No, that's ridiculous. I don't believe in giraffes.
Of all the mythical creatures that are reasonable to think about, a giraffe is so much less reasonable than all those creatures. But before we get too far derailed here, I do think on the flip side of the of these water ghost stories, a lot of it is probably just people trying to explain shipwrecks. Like, oh, this shipwrecked for what reason? And there were so many of them in this area because the strait gets pretty narrow in places, so it's kind of treacherous to sail through. So you had a lot of shipwrecks in that area, and I think that a lot of that is probably people just trying to justify it.
I'm shocked they don't have some sort of siren connection as well, because you hear that story in a lot of cultures with shipwrecks. So not having like the call seems different as well.
Yeah, true. So those are the Funayuri ghosts. We also had the hauntings at the Amaka Shrine. And this shrine was dedicated to the child emperor Antuko, who was 6 years old when he ruled this clan and basically led them into battle for that war that went on, I think, longer than he was alive for. And it's ridiculous, this dynastic governing style of your father dies, that makes you become ruler no matter how old you are. And it lasted for so many centuries, like this style of governing. And it's so stupid. And it's crazy how long it took for people to stop putting 6-year-olds in charge of wars and armies and stuff like that. It's just absurd to me.
Well, I feel super safe whenever I'm being led into battle by a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
That seems to be the most logical solution. Somebody that couldn't talk 3 weeks ago being the one to tell me where I need to go for a battle seems legit.
Yeah. I can't imagine how they lost the war being led by a 6-year-old.
Yeah, you see this kind of stuff in like Game of Thrones, and you're like, no one's gonna listen to that person, right?
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think he was actually in charge. I believe that he's kind of like the
figurehead.
Yeah, exactly. He's the front man. Like, he's in charge.
Yeah.
I did figure out the lion versus shark debacle, and I found footage of who would be the champion. It's the giraffe emerging from the water.
Yep. Yeah. There it is.
Historical photo.
Yeah.
I really like the look on the lion's face there. It looked very surprised, very upset.
Very disappointed, honestly.
Looks like
you know how cats are around water. So
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, the lion was really hoping for home field advantage in that one. Didn't play out. But this child was, he lost the war, and in order to avoid being captured, his second in command grabbed hold of him and jumped into the ocean, and his grandmother followed, and they all drowned tragically. And then shortly after that event, they put up this Amaka shrine to honor the dead child emperor and the dead Haika samurai. And that's why they have the 7 mounds there that kind of represent the Taira warriors that died in that battle on that day. And this is where you had several different hauntings associated with the samurai and with the child emperor. The hauntings include people hearing eerie sounds, shadow figures, disembodied whispers, and just a general sense of unease near the shrine, especially near the emperor's memorial. So some kind of like more of the run-of-the-mill hauntings that you hear about more often. And then you have the statue of Hoichi the Earless, which that was one of my favorite stories. And I don't want to go too much into this particular story because I have told it before on this show. I didn't realize it was connected to this Haika samurai story. So when I stumbled across that, I'm like, oh shit, I have to include this.
Right.
So
it's a great story.
It is really, yeah, it really is. It's creepy too when he finds out that he wasn't actually playing for the clan; he was playing for their graves.
Yeah.
Pretty creepy stuff.
Yeah, that's something right out of a horror movie. Like, just thinks he's playing for a crowd, thinks he brought them to tears and everything, which means he probably pleased the spirits, I guess, because that's who he was really playing for, right?
Yeah, until he didn't.
Lost his ears over it.
Mm-hmm. Not good when you're blind and then you get your ears ripped off. Not good.
We should set
He was blind too. Sheesh.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to be kidding me. I really needed those.
just has to lick everybody's face when he comes in contact with him to figure out who it is going forward.
He can't use his hands.
Straight for taste. I get it. Trigger all the remaining senses, I guess.
So there's some other hauntings in this area that I thought were pretty interesting. Well, at least there's one other haunting in this area that I thought was pretty interesting that I didn't touch on in the opening video. So we could talk about this. It's pretty interesting. This is the Ganryu Jima Island, and the origin of this haunting took place in the 17th century, where there were two rival renowned swordsmen. There was Miyamoto Musashi, who was known for his many duels, even when he was very young. And he only ever lost one duel, but it wasn't it wasn't a duel to the death. So he lost one time early on, but then became very good, grew a reputation, and everyone knew who he was. And he was a feared sword fighter. He wrote books about sword strategy and sword fighting philosophy. And he was one of the most well-known swordsmen in the area. And the other one was Sasaki Kojiro, known as the Demon of the Western Provinces. He was a master swordsman who earned his nickname due to his skill with the nodachi, which was precisely the kind of sword a demon would use. And that's how he got
badass nickname.
It really is.
That's so good.
I also like that you specified that he lived after losing that one duel, because I was going to counter that I think a lot of people can say that they only lost one duel.
Yeah, I know. That's true. That is true. But yes, he lost one that was not fatal. So Kojiro was a very flamboyant man who often wore bright clothing that would make him stand out. And he most notably won a 3-versus-1 match where all three of his opponents were armed with swords, and he only had a tessin, which is a Japanese war fan with outer spokes made out of iron. And he wiped the floor with all three of them.
God, I would have loved to see stuff like this.
I know, really.
That sounds awesome. It was probably just a terrible thing to watch. It was probably gruesome and sad.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds badass. I also really wish that whatever he won that battle with was something much less lethal.
Yeah, I mean,
like a banana or something.
I know. I'd be mad if I had to fight three guys with swords and all I had was a fan,
a wooden spoon.
Yeah, funny you say that. Later on in the story.
Okay.
But anyways, back to the story. So the rivalry between these two swordsmen have been growing, and both of them being virtually unbeaten.
Can I interject? Because now I have to start guessing where the wooden spoon's going to come in. So were they rival?
Soup eaters? No.
Rival chefs trying to make the best spaghetti sauce.
That would be fun. I don't know. Spaghetti sauce was a big thing back in medieval Japan.
Their duel was just to see how fast one of them could fill up a ship with water with the spoon.
There we go. It all ties back in.
That's pretty good.
Ladle ghosts.
No, so none of those are correct. But feel free to interject if another idea comes to you. But the rivalry had been growing between these two, seeing they were both virtually unbeaten, and both of them had reputations growing with each victory. Finally, in April of 1612, Miyamoto requested a samurai lord broker the duel between the two men, and the duel would take place on April 13th on the small island of Ganryu Jima.
Was the winner going to get a wooden spoon?
Nope.
I'm almost there.
You're getting there. Miyamoto decided to demonstrate his disrespect for Kojiro by showing up 3 hours late with a makeshift sword made from a broken rowing oar.
Okay.
He was so confident that he was going to beat this guy. He said, I'm not going to show up on time. I'm not going to use a real sword. I'm going to use this broken rowing oar, basically wooden rowing oar, and I'm going to beat him with this.
That is just so disrespectful. Love it.
See, I would have taken it as cowardly. Like, you didn't because I'm not waiting 3 hours.
Yeah, showing up late makes me think he was really hoping the guy wouldn't show up, but to show up without even I wonder if he showed up and was like, oh shit, he's still here, and then just grabbed whatever he saw next to him. It happened to be a broken rowing oar.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I think that you don't. Everyone knew it was going down. Like these guys were such big deals that you knew he was going to show up, and he made him wait purely out of disrespect. And it's big in Japanese culture to be honorable, and if you're not treated with honor, it's like the ultimate sign of disrespect. So he did that intentionally to get into Kojira's head, which worked because Kojira, filled with rage, drew his katana, tossed aside his scabbard, to which Miyamoto said, "If you have no more use for your sheath, you are already dead." And then he proceeded to trounce his opponent, breaking three of his ribs and puncturing his lung with the broken wooden oar, which eventually led to his death. Wow. So this guy, in all of his arrogance, showed up with a stick and beat one of the best swordsmen in the area, proving that he is truly the greatest swordsman of the prefecture. So this island is believed to be haunted by the ghost of Kojira, and people have cited...
Did we get the wooden spoon? Or was that the oar?
It was the oar. Yeah.
All right.
Not exactly a wooden spoon. So
I don't think I've ever referred to a water spoon. No. How are we going to get this boat across this lake without our water spoons? I'm forever calling it a water spoon from now on. That's amazing. That's great. We have a new term here. It's been born here on Hometown Ghost Stories. Breaking news.
Oh, yes.
Oars will, from this point forward, be referenced to as water spoons.
The legendary water spoon. So sightings of a ghostly swordsman and have been reported on this island. And it's a very small island. I believe it's only like 3 acres. And people hear the sound of clashing swords, which is common from reports. And people believe that is the ghost of Sasaki Kojiro.
But the swords didn't clash. It was a wooden spoon.
Dude, that's a good observation. So I gave you one version of this story. There are several versions. This was the only one where there was a broken wooden oar used. So who knows if that's really what happened. There's always like when you get these really old stories, you get different variations of them, and it's hard to distinguish or tell which one is the real one. But I went with the one that I liked the most.
It was a good one.
Yes. Have you guys played Ghost of Jesus? Can I talk? Ghost of Tsushima yet?
No, but you keep telling me to play it.
Oh my god, it's so good. There's like sword duels on there that you do as well. Awesome game. The second one's coming out, I think, next year or the year after, but the first one is a ton of fun.
Is that the Dark Souls one? What's the Dark Souls one?
No, that's Sicario or something like that. Ghost of Tsushima is really good.
But yeah, I've heard that that's like the hardest Dark Souls game of all, which is saying a lot because I've played a few of them and they're really not a good time.
Yeah, not fun.
Great game. Extremely difficult. Yeah.
So tough.
Elden Ring was a good time.
So those are the major hauntings of Shimonoseki. There are a couple other areas that have really mild hauntings. So I can talk about those real quick, but because there's not enough to come back and do a part 2 here based on just these. But the Karato Market is, I had referenced it, which is basically right next to the Amaka Shrine. And this is allegedly haunted also. Now, all these places seem like they're haunted by the same ghosts because they're all so close together. They're all right on pretty much the coast there, which is adjacent to this watery battlefield, which people believe that the spirits haunt not only the waters, but the surrounding areas. So you get a lot of similar hauntings, but the Karato Marketplace, which is known for its seafood, known for its fugu fish, which are infamous in themselves. These are the puffer fish that if you prepare it wrong, you die. So they're a delicacy over there. Also, you can create voodoo zombies with this fish. We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's why I remember that. Yeah, I was like, why does that name sound so familiar?
Yeah. So this is pretty much the mecca for that fish. If you're getting a fugu fish from Japan, it's coming from Shimonoseki most likely.
Cool.
So yeah. So they have that, and it's so close to the battlefield there that it's believed that some of the ghosts haunt this area too. So workers and visitors have mentioned feeling like they're being watched or seeing shadowy figures early in the morning or late at night, particularly when the market is quiet. And that makes sense because if you have a bustling market, and you're just not going to be able to distinguish what might be a paranormal sound versus what might be just regular noise.
Yeah, noise of the market. It's gonna be a busy place.
Which is why we talk about hauntings being more prominent at night to people, because that's when everything's more quiet. And when in fact there's probably just as many hauntings going on during the day as there is at night, especially if it's a residual. You're probably getting more during the day that you're just never going to pick up on.
Yeah, that's why it's tough to do hotels, especially when hotels are full. And we do them so often because there's so many of them, and they're all so haunted that we got to do them. And they're like some of like the bigger locations, but they're hard to do because of that exact reason.
Right.
The other possible haunted area in Shimonoseki is the Hinoyama Park. And this is known for its scenic views. The park has an eerie history tied to World War II, when Shimonoseki was being heavily bombed. Some of the areas of the park are believed to have lingering spirits, and visitors occasionally report hearing disembodied voices or experiencing cold spots in certain areas, especially near old bunkers and tunnels from the war. So,
makes sense.
Pretty haunted place.
History is just so vast. I mean, you're bouncing between 1500s to the 1900s to present day.
Yeah, 1185.
Yeah, it's insane.
It really is. And this is, so Jesse mentioned it earlier, which is like every prefecture you look at in Japan, you're like, this is the most haunted. No, this is the most haunted. This one, I believe that I would say is probably not the most haunted of all of them. And mainly, even though it seems like there's so much here, it really is just one small area all experiencing the same hauntings. And that's, you know what I mean? So it's really just kind of one haunting.
I do wonder if it's, and you had brought it up, if it's just one very powerful dark entity that is haunting this place. Tess coming with 50 gifted hometown ghost stories memberships. Thank you so much for your generosity. Tess, you're an absolute legend. Thank you. But yeah, that makes it, I mean, like we said, we don't really love the term most haunted, but with the most reports of paranormal activity, obviously you have the forest. We haven't even covered the forest yet on this show, but we have and obviously there's a lot of forest, but I think everyone knows about the forest that I'm talking about. I'm trying not to use certain words, so YouTube and TikTok and all these things. But, so there's that one famous, very dark forest out there. And then you also have, we covered Nagasaki not that long ago. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. A lot of ghosts tied with a ton of people ending their lives during World War II, and obviously the losses that happened during World War II as well. And then plenty of battles that happened before that. But we're not even just talking like, the history from the Second World War. You're also talking about just thousands of years of battles and conflicts between these different groups of people and everything. So
yeah, it was under shogun rule for 7 centuries. So that's, you're talking military dictators. So this place was pretty much always at war, because that's what you get when you deal with this. So it was the samurai. It was under samurai rule for so many years. And then obviously you had the World War II era, which wasn't much better. So, and you had brought up we both kind of bouncing the idea back and forth that there could be just one dark entity that draws so much negative energy. And you could be getting either events that are feeding into that dark energy, or the dark energy that are causing these negative events. And maybe it is just one big negative spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, ghost hunting in America and in Europe is much more of a thing, as far as I know, than it is in Japan. Where in Japan, it's part of the culture is just to like respect the dead, and if you have a ghost, you kind of just learn to live with it. They do have people that handle the situations, and they come in and try to help out how they can, but it's not like to expel the spirit. That's not what they do. They're like, all right, you're sharing a dwelling with a spirit. Here's how you two can get along. It's much different out there. So.
Yeah,
very interesting stuff.
I've listened to people that have visited trying to do investigations, and they've become slightly more open to it. But when I say slightly more open to it, it's not like here. You're very limited on the places that you're actually able to go investigate, like to a very small amount of places at the moment. So.
Right. From what I've seen from different shows and people that have gone there and spoken to about it, it seems like your best bet if you're going to go out there and try to do a paranormal investigation is try to hit like the beaches or somewhere that's not illegal to be at night, because other than that, people aren't going to let you in. You know, maybe you will, maybe they will, but for the most part, it seems it's just a different kind of culture out there, and you have to respect that too. So you don't want to be crossing into places you shouldn't go, especially if you're disrespecting the people and the way that they do things over there.
You definitely don't want to end up in prison in another country
or in general.
Yes, obviously in general, but particularly in another country that could be
right.
That could be endlessly more complicated. So I got a lot of these stories from this book, which is pretty cool. I'll give them a shout out. Strange Tales from Japan, 99 chilling ghost stories of yokai, ghosts, demons, supernatural, and it's filled with really awesome lore. And it's all, you know, it's legends. It's technically not a work of fiction. You know, take what you will from these stories. A lot of them are obviously legends and parables and stuff like that, but it's based on, you know, they're historical. They're based in history. It's stories that people have been telling for hundreds and hundreds of years.
That's pretty cool that when you ordered a book on the ghost, it actually came as a book. You know what I won't do is I won't recommend the book about the ghosts of Nagasaki. Like, I can't remember the exact name of it, and I wouldn't say it particularly, but it cost money, and it was a stapled together pamphlet of like just 15 pieces of paper, and it wasn't even cut well. Like they accidentally scissored like into the top of it. I paid like $15 for this thing, and I had to wait like 2 weeks to get it in. So it was after the episode had already aired. I couldn't even read the book in time. Would not recommend that one. That one pissed me off. If it was free or if it was a couple bucks and pay for shipping, that'd be something. Literally, my kids put more effort into putting together a book than this author did, or these quote unquote publisher. Can you even call them the publisher if they just staple 10 pieces of paper together and don't even cut it right? Dude, I was actually pissed off. It wasn't even in color. I mean, not that I need color when I read a book, but like it was clearly colored in at some point, but they printed it in black and white because that's cheaper.
Was it a coloring book? Was that what they were marketing as?
I wish it was. If it was, then I'd be fine with it. It wasn't.
I wish they had hole punched it and then tied it together with shoestrings. That would be the only thing to make this story a little bit better.
No, because that would have shown more effort. It was just stapled. I'm going to go find it. If I haven't punted it into traffic, I'm going to go find it right now. I'm going to show you guys.
Don't punt things into traffic. It's dangerous, and I don't recommend it. But no, this book's great. It was thorough. It's even got like illustrations of the of some of the legends in the book, which is pretty cool. And it's neat, and it breaks it into different categories of demons and friendly ghosts and whatnot.
Very
so
cool.
Yeah, awesome stuff. But love covering Japan. Every time we do an area here, a city or a town, it's always just the most unique ghost stories. And It's such a blast doing it.
Very, very well like told stories from a culture that's been around for just so long. Jesse has returned with his
Pamphlet.
With his pamphlet.
Sorry, by the way, it was Okinawa, not Nagasaki. I kept saying Nagasaki. I'm going to cover up most of it, but this is what I received.
Why are you covering it up?
I don't know, because I don't want to like crap on an author, you know.
Why?
And,
dude, that's what you're doing.
And look at this. Look at this. I'm sorry, I'm not putting it in front of the camera. Look at this. Yeah, it was split because when they cut it, they didn't cut it properly, which, dude, this is like standard size paper, so I don't even think you had to cut it properly.
Jesse,
it's got two staples.
How much did you pay for it?
I think I ended up paying like $20 with shipping.
Okay, you can shit on the author.
Yeah.
That's robbery.
Jane.
Come on, Jane.
You can be better than that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that's what I got.
Jane.
Like, I've paid less money for really good, really big books. Anyway,
it looks like a clip art ghost too. Like they didn't even
draw it themselves. So, anyways, but still, Okinawa's got a lot. Anyways, anything else?
We'll give some 5-star reviews.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
All right, this first one is from Jackie, and it's titled Absolute Legends. Hello, fellas. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend this podcast. I've been following from the beginning, then slacked for a while. Given so, I got to binge listen for about a month to catch up where I left off at, which was episode 55. You guys are freaking awesome. Sorry it took me forever to figure out how to leave a review. The only complaint I have is that there isn't more episodes. There should be one daily.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Come on. Just kidding. Love you guys. Keep up all the wonderful work. Can't wait to continue to watch you guys triumph. I even got my 12-year-old to listen, and he loves you guys. P.S. I need to be a part of the next in-person ghost hunt. So that was from our friend Jackie. This one is from Safety First 101,
Nice.
titled Highly Recommend.
OSHA certified.
Good advice.
It's spelled like T as in the drink, though. It's SAFETEA.
Oh, you don't want to fuck around with dangerous tea, I guess.
Yeah, you want to drink the safe tea first for sure.
Yes. Hey guys, started this show about 3 to 4 months ago, and I heard your Fredericksburg, Texas episode on Haunted American History. Shout out to Haunted American History. Great
cool.
show. I am now fully caught up to all 140 something episodes from listening to your show at work while cleaning, as well as on my 90-minute drive both ways. Sorry, that's terrible.
Yeah,
I've been
that's
there.
brutal.
I have always loved spooky stuff, but sometimes the deep, monotonous voiceovers can start to be boring. And that is why I love this show. The beginning section on the history is well laid out, researched thoroughly, and a good length to not get boring.
What a twist. I thought that person was shitting on us for a second. I was like, oh, sorry.
Following this is a fun discussion section between the guys in live chat, which incorporates more humor, ghost stories, personal stories, and is a good time overall. One location I would recommend looking into would be Mackinac Island in Michigan. Might not have enough for a full episode. Would be interested in your take on it. Thank you for the wonderful show and keep up the great work. And I have looked into that island before. I just I've been trying to figure out how to present that one, so it's kind of gotten backburnered for the moment. Another one that we got asked about is the Shawshank prison in Ohio. Somebody sent us an email about that today, who also became a VIP member, and we haven't covered that particular one yet because we are hoping to actually investigate it in the future. So that's been kind of put off to the side for the moment, but you will either hear us cover it or go investigate it at some point in the future. So
sounds like fun.
One more.
Finally go try out some Ohio pizza.
No, never again will I eat Ohio pizza. I won't do it.
So I've had Ohio pizza, but I was cheating because it was my wife's cousin who lives out there, Saki. Shout out if he's listening. But he had a restaurant out there. So he used to have a pizza shop in Boston. So he took Boston pizza and brought it to Ohio.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't count.
Doesn't really count. Yeah.
This last one is from our good friend Papa Squatch, titled Scary Good. So glad I found the show. Savannah was the first episode I listened to, and I was hooked. Love the banter between the guys and the way they deliver the content. It's not a straight, this place is definitely a haunted show. Each episode is a conversation and lets the listener decide for themselves. Their side content is awesome too. The show has hauntings from women in white to pirates to shadow people and demon children. If you like to hear about not only the hauntings, but the history of a place, this podcast is for you. And definitely got the history of a location today because it was quite far back.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of history.
Thorough review. Apparently, Dave, your children have been to Mackinac Island.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah. Ma just texted me and reminded me that. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to ask them if they saw any ghosts.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have to ask that. And remember, you can enter to win a free shirt with a 5-star review. Just re-listen to the instructions at the beginning of the episode.
If you're really dedicated to the show, Dave, you would go wake up your children right now and scream at them for not taking footage while they were on that island for us.
Yeah.
So really drop the ball there.
They actually start packing their stuff.
They're awake and probably watching.
Yeah. Don't come back until you get footage of Mackinac Island.
Is it Mackinac or Mackinac?
Nobody knows.
All right, let's hop into our patrons real quick. Starting with our VIPs, we have Justin West, Jay Gooch, 725, Jackie F, Jeremy M, Casey W, Brandina 77, Kathy F, Kitten Clown Dozer, Ghost Nurse, JP, another Vice. Dave has a new kangaroo onesie with a bottom flap. West Virginia coal miner, Tess, Mother McTibbles, our RIP of the week, in her show reference Fish Captain McTibbles. Mother McTibbles and her show reference Fish Captain McTibbles.
She has a fish named Captain McTibbles, and it is a show reference.
Yes.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Yeah. Nancy.
I understood.
Dropping $2 in super chat real quick. She says, love the show. Stay spooky. We appreciate that for sure. My phone is vibrating as we talk about Mackinac Island. We'll figure that out eventually. We have Jesse is the most handsome, strong, and brave. Dave D, Kate and Steve M, Sharon V, Glitter Tease, Cammy from Washington, Kelly C, Jennifer P, Nick, Liz Young. Rob thinks Jesse is the Dennis Quaid of HTGS. Wow. Wow.
I would never give you that insult, Jesse.
That was a lot.
That's a low blow.
That's fighting words right there, Donnie. We have Inspires Gaming, Allison V, Robert H, Laveau's Grave Rentals, new roommates every year, Anna C, Jeannie Mallory from Montana, Mom and Pops W, Papa Squatch, Lisa J, and Mike Oubliette Blake.
Oubliette.
Thank you for being members of the VIPs. Next up, we'll hop into the Warren's Wards. Let's kick that off with the one and only degenerate gambler, Voodoo Ghost, who shouldn't have hit on 19, Jamie E, Jennifer A, Nick M, Jeremy M, Beth C, Sharina Shawners, Leslie F, Rachel G, Her Lady Voodoo, Zombie, Spookfish, Slosh at Oshkosh, Julie Gooley, Eugene M, Arcade Hunters, Kath Q, DC, Chris Connolly, LBPS founder, next HTGS guest, the other Rachel B, Sarah Cook, Janice G, Lily, Rachel B, Vampire Sandpaper on Rob's Toes.
That's ridiculous. Take it
Sydney,
back.
the crab tosser, not crab receiver. Ghosts love using ladies in wooden H2O spoons. Steph A. Seth on guitar. Human soup. Coming up next, we have the Ghost Pirate Mafia. And let's start that off with Susan C. Julie. I got that. That looks so much like Julie Gooley. I had a small stroke, just a little one. We're back in it. We're ready to finish the show. It's just ghostly.
You would have a small stroke if you were rowing your ship with wooden spoons.
I probably would. Yeah. Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Took me a second there. I thought you meant I would just have another small stroke. I was like, probably would. That's a lot of work.
I definitely got it right away. There was definitely right as you said it. I understood what that was.
Yeah, that's my killer delivery.
We have Pandorica 416. Thank you for breaking that down for me. I think that was the one I completely struggled with last 2 weeks.
You requested they break it down.
Yeah, they put little hyphens in for me. There we go. I nailed it. Look at that. It's easy as that. Deb 62, Karen L, Michael M, Tanya C, Carrie H, Amber R, Brant C, Emily P, Whisper, Shane J, Mrs. Nardozzi, Shane O'Mac, Joe, Trevor Swoverland, Amanda H, Christina S, Kate C, Kelly C, bloop, bloop. Crazy Legs. Cowboys are 4-7 Super Bowl contenders. Eyeball emoji.
They might be in the NFC.
You never know. Just call me Bree, Miss Macabre, Michelle, Naroku, Cold Warrior, a kid named Max who used to get fat stacks out on the corner with Rob's toe sucking collection.
God damn it.
Spoggles. Spalls. I'm trying to remember how she pronounced it. Is a Danish word for ghost. Meta A, by the way. Yes. Like that. Splong. We're getting closer. Sarah B, Monster Mom 04, Wicked Alley, Dark Snark. Nothing says bros like nuzzling a nose while grabbing some joes, then interlocking some toes with hot dog ends. Anything goes.
Nobody likes that.
You really channeled your inner Dr. Seuss on that one. That was great. We have Morgan S, Wiggly Toe Soup for Rob. That's a new special one. Wayne C. Rob has crab races in his shower. We don't have to talk about that. Crystal Quinn, a.k.a. non-Rob fan. Thick Boy Freddy's baby mama has not been yeeted. Alicia E. Thick Boy Freddy gravely miscalculated the height of the lighthouse and Thick Wife survived. Don't tell her it was me. LOL. Swanee, row, row, row your boat, or the ladle ghost will make you scream. Sam from Nepal, Joe R. Al Capone, Huggy Bear. Jesse will not tickle your baby unless he doesn't cover Shiloh National Military Park. So I will tell you this, Brennan. I was going to cover Shiloh National Military Park, but you had changed your name the last couple of weeks, and I completely forgot which National Military Park I was going to cover. So I bet you my next episode will be that. You just can't change your Patreon name. Too far away from that name.
You've only been stuff in the email. Like, just check our email.
You've only read the name every week for the past 3 months.
Yeah. You know what? I liked our last episode. Solar Flare, Mariah M, Kira Lee J, Fishizzle. It's Anthony Tizzle. Wow, that was a good time. That was a great time for everybody. Cody G, Brandon W, Hooply Whooply, Bridgewitch, and the Polka guys. Thank you so much for being on Patreon.
Go back and read Steph's name again. You got it wrong.
Did I?
Yep.
What tier is she in?
Warren's Wards.
All right, I will do that. In the meantime, talk about something else.
I don't know.
Well, while he's looking that up, if you go on Patreon right now, you can get exclusive access to the side content that's dropping on Friday. You can already get it. We are covering the ghost of Charlie Chaplin. So you can hear all about the ghost of Charlie Chaplin, which was a very interesting story. Spoiler alert, he haunts like so many countries, just so many different countries. So you can listen to that over on Patreon. It'll be out on Friday.
The picture of Edgar Allan Poe behind you looks like it could be Charlie Chaplin too.
It does.
A
little bit.
It does.
Ghosts love using ladies. Oh, ladles. That's why I was like, what a strange. I guess, ladles. There would be no reason for you to capitalize that I in the middle of that word.
No, none.
If you're on Discord, we have set up we have nothing to do with this, but I believe it was Tess and Steph, maybe, who set up the Secret Santa. So if you're interested in taking part in that, swing on over to Discord. I believe they created a voice channel for that. So
that's
let me get this whole name right one last time for Steph. Ghosts love using ladles in wooden H2O spoons, Steffe. There we go.
There we go.
We did it.
Bang for their buck on this part of the show. I think that'll pretty much do it. Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it for me.
Cool. If you want to keep up to date with movie reviews, Terrifier 3 will be, I believe, the next movie that we cover. Unless it's another Friday the 13th one. I'm not entirely sure how that lines up on the timeline, but
don't watch it unless you like really intentional and in your face.
It is
gore,
over the top gory. If this isn't your thing, viewer discretion is advised. Yes,
we were putting a big warning at the top of that episode when we record it. Who knows when we're going to record it? 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll pretty much do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Peace.
By the way, I have a new album that's out now. So if you're still here, you're still hanging out, swing on over to Spotify, check out Night Fist Speedwalk. It's album number 2. You can also still check out the Hometown Ghost Stories album that is also on Spotify and all platforms. If you don't listen on Spotify, you can find it anywhere. Just search my name, Jesse Wilkins, and check it out. I planned on playing a little preview video for you, but I don't have it, so we'll play it next time. Bye.